Hello and welcome to Beauty Will Save the World. This method take. Okay, I hope this time I get it right, man. I hadn't turned on the video when I started the other one, so I just talked alone for minutes thinking I was making the video. So this time I've confirmed the video is on, the audio is on. Let's do this. So today we'll be looking at an Argentine poet called Alejandro Pizarnik. That's Alejandro with a J. Pizarnik was born to a family of Jewish descent in Argentina, Buenos Aires, in 1936. And, you know, our childhood and growing up was under the shadow of the Nazi occupation and the World War II sort of happenings that were going on in Europe. And since they were so far away from all that, their family got to survive it and gave us one of the finest poets to ever come out of that part of the world. And she has become a favorite of mine. And her works are still being translated, so there isn't a lot of translations of our works. I managed to get these two. This translation by Sigurd, Yvette Sigurd of Extracting the Stones of Madness, and The Galloping Hour, Extracting the Stones of Madness. I think that title comes from a certain painting by Bruegel. I don't know, it could be the Bruegel, the younger or the elder, but it's the Flemish um, painter who made this really bizarre paintings, which was so ahead of their time and sort of their surrealistic bizarreness. But I see why I should be attracted to that. So Pujarnik had a sort of a troubled life. She only lived up to 36 years old when she committed suicide in 1972. Her life throughout had been, had a sort of depressive bouts, and she's been plagued by depression most of her adult life and suffered self-esteem issues in her younger days where she started and suffered from asthma, and also the fact that the mother often compared her to her other sister who she thought was perfect, uh, only worked to worsen her self-esteem issues. But what she ended up was becoming an amazing poet. She wrote in Spanish, and wrote some of her poems in French as well. Um, Her time in France in the 1960s, early 1960s, I think introduced her to some other poets who can say influenced her deeply. That would be somebody like Rimbaud, Mallarmé, and the writers like Proust and Jean-Paul Sartre. There's a lot of elements of existentialism in Pizarnik's work, and it's so melancholic and has this sort of dreamlike atmosphere when you read it. So you can sense the influence of surrealism, existentialism in her works. She got very much known when she published the Extracting the Stones of Madness, and other work is the Trees of Diana, and other works that also made her renowned was The Wax and the Knights. I think that's what broke her like into the public consciousness. So she's remained, a favorite of most people, but not very mainstream, not very popular. Her works are just starting to be translated, and in the near future, I'm expecting to see a lot of scholarly work around her, and also translations of works that haven't been translated, or different versions of translations of how works which have been translated. That is really exciting. I'm always looking out for anything Alejandra Pizarnik, and so far I have these two lovely, lovely translations which I'm going to read from some of her works that I love. I mean, extracting the stones of madness, you can pretty much open any page and you'll find a lovely poem in it. So I have this sort of hobby of mine lately where I do certain sketches of and like a marginalia, like a marginalia which has imagery as well. So of poems or lines from books that I love, and then do some bit of sketch. But this one is like a copy. I did a copy of the Galloping Howard cover art. I just loved it, and I decided to do a copy of that. So sort of reproduced it. And one of my latest sketches is from the Extracting the Stones of Madness, one of the poems that I'll read to you today. Here it is. I ask for silence. Though it's late, though it's night, and you're not able, saying as if nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong. So let's start extracting the stones of madness. I'll read a few short poems from this. I've just been reading this today morning, and I thought I'd share some of the stuff I've read on the first few pages. Poem number one. You choose the site of the wound where we speak our silence. You make of my life this ceremony that's much too pure. Revelations. At night, at your side, words become clues, keys. The desire to die is king. May your body always be a beloved space for revelations. We light the way. When you look at me, my eyes are keys. The wall holds secrets, and my fear carries words, poems. Only you can turn my memory into a fascinated traveler, a relentless fire. And that's pretty lovely. That's pretty lovely. So another one. uh Just a second. Green Paradise. Stranger that I was, when a neighbor to distant lights, I stood up the purest words for making new silences. In a place for escaping the self. Space, a long wait, no one comes. This shadow, give it what everyone gives, meanings that are somber, not full of wonder. Space, blazing silence. What is it that shadows give each other? Eyes wide open. Someone sobbing measures the length before dawn. Someone punches her pillow in search of an impossible place to rest. Yes. Maybe one last one before we go. A beggar voice. And still I dare to love. The sound of the light in a dead hour. The color of time on a ruined wall. In my eyes, I've lost everything. asking is so far away and so close, this knowledge of want. So that is a few short poems from Extracting the Stones of Madness. And I'll finish up with the Galloping Hour, the French poems, a translation by Patricio Ferrari and Forrest Gander. So I'll read one of my favorite of Alejandro Pizarnik's poems. It's called All Night I Hear the Voice of Water Sobbing. All night I hear the voice of water sobbing. All night I make night in me. I make the day that begins on my account, that sobs because day falls like water through night. All night I hear the voice of someone seeking me out. All night you abandon me slowly, like the water that sobs slowly falling. All night I write luminous messages, messages of rain. All night someone checks for me and I check for someone. The noise of steps in the circle near this choleric light birthed from my insomnia. Steps of someone who no longer writes, who no longer writes. All night someone holds back, then crosses the circle of bitter light. All night I drown in your eyes, become my eyes. All night I prod myself on toward that quarter in the circle of my silence. All night I see something lurk toward my looking, something humid, contrived of silence, launching the sound of someone sobbing. Absence blows greyly, and night goes dense. Night, the shade of the eyelids of the dead. Viscous night, exhaling some black oil that blows me forward and prompts me to search out an empty space without warmth, without cold. All night I flee from someone. I lead the chase. I lead the fugue. I sing a song of mourning, blackbirds over black shrouds. My brain cries, demented wind. I leave the tense and strained hand. I don't want to know anything but this perpetual wailing, this clatter in the night, this delay, this infamy, this pursuit, this inexistence. All night I see the abandonment is me, that the soul sobbing voice is me. We can search with lanterns, cross the shadows lie. We can feel the heart thud in the thigh, and water subside in the archaic side of the heart. All night I ask you why. All night you tell me no. I always like to read that poem. It's not the first time reading it, and it won't be the last. But it sort of like puts you in a trance, and you just the cadence and the repetition. It's so intoxicating in quite a beautiful way. So I'll read Sex Night as the last reading for this video. Sex Night, or simply sex, then comma, then night. Sex Night. Once again, someone falls in their first falling. Fall of the two bodies, of the two eyes, or four green eyes, or eight green eyes if we count those born in the mirror. At midnight, in the purest fear in loss, you haven't been able to recognize the voice of your own dull silence, to behold the earthly messages scrawled in the middle of one mad state, when the body is a glass, and from ourselves and from the other we drink some sort of impossible water. Desire needlessly spills on me a cast liquor. For my thirsting thirst, what can the promise of contact with your eyes do? I speak of something not in this world. I speak of someone whose purpose is elsewhere. And I was naked in the memory of the white night, drunk, and I made love all night, just like a sick dog. Sometimes we suffer too much reality in the space of a single night. We get undressed, we are horrified. We are aware the mirror sounds like a watch, the mirror from which your cry will pour out your laceration. Night opens itself only once. It's enough. You see, you've seen. Fear of being two in the mirror, and suddenly we are four. We cry, we sob, my fear, my joy, more horrible than my fear. My obscene words, my words which are keys locking me into a mirror with you but never alone. I know the nature of night. We've fallen so completely into jaws which couldn't fathom this sacrifice, this condemnation of my seeing eyes. I speak of a discovery. Felt the eye in the sex, sex in the eye. I speak of barring everyday fear to secure the fear of an instant, the abyss of absence. But who will say, don't cry at night, because madness is a lie too, like night, like death. So that is Alejandra Pizarnik, 1936 to 1972. Ended her life by an intentional overdose. Brilliant, brilliant poet, and one of the poems that, you know, always like really touches me. So thank you for coming by, and like and subscribe. Beauty will save the world. Thank you.